The great hall of the Galactic Council was filled with whispers as the human representative entered, calm and smiling, wearing a simple gray suit while others around him wore glowing robes, scaled armor, or organic shells that shimmered with living light. And though Earth had been part of the interstellar community for only 50 years, they had quietly earned a reputation for adaptability and politeness, never drawing too much attention, always eager to learn, always helping in small ways. And most species saw them as harmless, clever, yes, but still new, still behind, still young. And so when the Krivari Empire began pushing across neutral space, claiming planets and enslaving smaller species, the Council met to stop it, gathering the largest coalition fleet into centuries. But they did not invite Earth to join the mission, only to observe, to sit quietly as always. And the human ambassador, Samuel Rios, took his seat in silence, nodding at the war leaders who barely noticed him. And when the Council fleet departed, prideful and certain of victory, no one expected what happened next, because the Krivari struck fast, using gravitational distortions in a time matter minds to tear the fleet apart, leaving a trail of shattered holes and lost signals. And the survivors limped back to the Council station in shame, shocked and frightened, for they had never faced such sudden defeat. And now hundreds of thousands of lives were gone, and more would follow. And in the emergency chamber, panic rose, voices clashed, leaders argued, blame spread like fire, until a calm voice cut through it all. Samuel Rios stood, not angry, not smug, only composed. And he said quietly, "Earth can help, if you want." And at first there was laughter, bitter and cruel. But the laughter stopped when Samuel tapped his wrist pad, and a hologram appeared, showing a Krivari battleship orbiting a small mining moon. Then, without a sound, dozens of tiny silver lights darted toward it, moving too fast for the eye to follow, bypassing shields, weaving through defense grids. And in seconds, the ship powered down and fell from orbit, unharmed but dead like a frozen wayland. The room went silent, watching as drones no larger than coffee mugs flew out from the shadows, returning to a stealth ship no one had noticed before. And Samuel said, "They didn't know we were there, and we left without taking a single life." And the Council demanded to know what kind of weapon had done that. What kind of AI or stealth field or energy source could disable a battleship without being seen? But Samuel simply said, "That's not the question you should be asking." And he sat down again, letting the silence grow deeper. And over the next weeks, more Krivari ships were lost, not destroyed, just shut down, abandoned in space like forgotten toys. And again Earth denied nothing but explained nothing, sending no large fleets, making no public threats, only offering quiet assistance to rescue the enslaved and defend the helpless. And slowly, the galaxy began to change how it looked at humans, not as weak or naive, but as something else, something hidden, something unknown. And when asked directly how Earth had gained such tools, such control, Samuel only smiled and said, "We've only shown you what we need to." And though many thought it was a clever phrase, others felt something darker beneath it, something deeper, as if Earth had been hiding far more than ships and drones, as if they had been waiting, watching, preparing in silence. And now that they were no longer ignored, no longer seen as simple or small, the galaxy began to wonder what else the humans had been holding back, and why they had waited until now to begin revealing it. The mood inside the Galactic Council chamber had changed, and though the air was still filled with quiet diplomacy and polite greetings, there was now a tension that wrapped around every word. And at the center of it all was Earth, no longer ignored, no longer underestimated, but now carefully watched. And after Earth's quiet yet powerful help in the Krivari conflict, many council members had started asking the same question: how had humans done it? And why were they hiding what they truly had? And so meetings were held behind closed doors. Whispers spread through every corridor of the great station, and high-ranking species like the Varnati, who had ruled space for 9,000 years, began requesting access to Earth systems, claiming it was time for humans to contribute more, to share what they knew. But the humans refused, always in the same calm and polite way, saying their data was not ready for sharing, that it was based on cultural methods or ongoing development. And when the Council pressed harder, Earth offered token files, harmless blueprints, known formulas, public tools, but none of it explained how they had done what they did. None of it showed how they could disable warships in seconds, or scan deep space in real time, or communicate across hundreds of light years without lag. And when asked again in a formal session, Ambassador Samuel Rios simply said, "Some knowledge." can't be shared without understanding, and then change the subject, leaving many confused and many more suspicious, and soon quiet investigations began. Not sanctioned by the Council, but not stopped either, and probes were sent toward Earth's orbit, hidden behind dust clouds and shielded by masking signals. But they vanished without a trace, not destroyed, just gone as if they had never been launched at all. And then came the incident that broke the silence, when a secret probe launched by the Thalnari Dominion reached Earth's moon and sent back one image, before disappearing, and that single image shook everyone who saw it, because it showed something strange floating above the lunar surface, not a ship, not a station, but a sphere of black glass, spinning slowly and casting no reflection, surrounded by faint rings of light like ripples in water. And the probe's signal ended the moment it approached it. And then every Thalnari ship in the nearby sector experienced glitches in navigation and power. Nothing deadly, but deeply unsettling, and Earth made no statement, sent no message, acted as if nothing had happened, and that made the Council even more nervous, because they realized Earth wasn't reacting with fear or anger. They weren't reacting at all. And it was then that the Council began to suspect that humans had gone far beyond what anyone thought possible, not just in ships or weapons, but in knowledge, in ways of thinking that didn't follow the standard paths. Because Earth's public tech still looked simple: fusion drives, adaptive AI, magnetic shields, but their results were impossible. And even when the brightest minds of the Council tried to replicate Earth's actions, they failed every time. And slowly the idea began to spread that Earth wasn't just keeping secrets, they were hiding their true level of evolution. And a few brave scientists proposed the theory of layer development, saying that perhaps Earth had advanced in ways that didn't leave digital trails, that maybe they had skipped over certain technologies and found their own path. And if that was true, then Earth was not just hiding technology, they were hiding a new way of thinking, a new system of knowledge, and that was more dangerous than any weapon. And one day, during a routine council meeting, the Varnati delegates stood and asked Samuel Rios directly, "How many layers of truth are you keeping from us?" And Samuel, without pause, said, "You've seen 1%. And that was the moment the chamber fell silent, because it wasn't a boast, not even a threat. It was a simple fact delivered with no emotion. And the silence that followed was not filled with fear, but something colder: realization. The sense that the humans had been playing a long game, not with malice, but with patience. And now the rest of the galaxy was beginning to see just how far behind they might truly be. And in the quiet hours that followed the meeting, more species began to send stealth satellites and hidden scouts to Earth's system, desperate to learn the truth, and every single one disappeared, without explosion, without debris, and always without reply, as if the system itself had learned to watch and reject outsiders. And still, Earth smiled politely at every council gathering, spoke kindly, offered aid when asked, but shared nothing deeper. And across the stars, a single phrase began to echo, spoken in curiosity and dread: "If that's only 1%, what does the rest look like?" The Galactic Council decided it was time to act more directly, because too many questions about Earth remained unanswered, and the fear of the unknown was spreading fast through the stars. So they arranged a diplomatic science mission to Mars, claiming it was a peaceful visit to explore human advancements in planetary development. But everyone knew the real reason: to find out how Earth had reached a level of technology and control that no one could explain. And the team set was carefully chosen, including scientists from the Thalnari, Varnati, Serene, and Orcs species, all known for their intelligence and caution. And they traveled in a neutral science vessel equipped with deep sensors, stealth detection, and layers of protection, expecting some resistance, but nothing violent, because humans had never shown aggression, only silence. And as the vessel approached Mars orbit, everything seemed normal, with calm readings and peaceful transmissions, until the moment they entered the upper atmosphere and the entire ship suddenly lost control, not from attack or impact, but as if gravity itself had changed direction. Systems flickered and failed, communication lines shut down, and even internal lights began to pulse strangely. And for one terrifying minute, the ship hung in the sky, frozen and powerless, spinning slowly like a toy lost in water, until a human transport arrived from nowhere and locked onto the vessel with a soft beam of light, pulling it gently back into safe orbit without asking permission or offering explanation. And when the council team woke up, they were inside a bright white room on a Martian station, unharmed, with calm human voices greeting them, offering warm, food and medical scans, acting as if nothing strange had happened at all. And the scientists were confused, even angry, but the humans remained friendly and helpful, giving them a tour of the Martian colonies clean, efficient cities built into red rock and glass domes, powered by silent energy sources no one could identify, with machines that move without sound and repair themselves without touch. And when the team asked how the systems worked, the humans smiled and said, "We prefer not to share every detail," always in the same quiet, polite tone that made it impossible to argue. And every time a sensor was activated or a device was secretly scanned, the readings returned either blank or scrambled, as if the very air around Mars was interfering with alien technology. And eventually one of the serene scientists discovered something buried beneath the planet's crust, an energy field that hummed softly at a frequency no species had ever recorded before, stretching from pole to pole and forming a bubble around the planet. A kind of disruption field that responded to foreign signals and disabled them without damage, like an immune system rejecting a virus. And when the Varnati delegate confronted the humans about it, demanded an explanation, the human guide simply said, "It's not meant to hurt anyone. It's meant to keep balance," and then offered them a cup of tea later that night. One of the council scientists managed to link a hidden data probe to a nearby satellite, sending a signal burst to a secure council relay, and what it transmitted caused alarm across dozens of star systems. The field over Mars wasn't just defensive. It was alive, adapting its pattern with every scan, learning from every attempt to breach it. And some believed it was controlled by an artificial mind, but others whispered that it was something more, something grown rather than built. And though the council tried to cover up the incident, news leaked, and the question rose again: how long had Earth been developing things no one else could see? And what else were they hiding beneath the surface of their quiet worlds? And when the council vessel was cleared to leave, fully repaired and glowing with restored power, it was guided gently back to space by drones that moved like shadows. And the human representative aboard simply waved goodbye and said, "Thank you for visiting," as if the whole trip had been a vacation. And once back at the council station, the delegates tried to report what they had seen, but the records were strange, corrupted in places, with images that shifted when viewed, and data that rewrote itself when analyzed. And though the official report stated that Mars remains under secure and advanced human development, the truth was far more unsettling. Nothing the council sent could fully understand or record what Earth had built there, and every attempt to observe it only made the mystery grow deeper. And now the council began to realize that Earth was not just ahead, they were operating on principles no one else could follow, principles that bent the laws of known science without breaking them. And that meant one thing above all: humanity had passed beyond the edge of galactic understanding, and whatever they were doing on Mars was only a small part of the truth, just another glimpse into the 1% they had allowed the galaxy to see far beyond Mars. In a quiet pocket of space near the edge of Earth's claimed territory, a strange light appeared, steady, bright, and unnatural land. It was not a beacon, not a signal, but something far more puzzling: a small star that had not been there before, perfectly placed between asteroid belts, far from any natural gravity wells, and glowing with the same warmth and energy as a real sun, but without any orbiting planets or known stellar formation nearby. And when the Galactic Council detected it, they were confused, for no record showed a star in that position, and telescopes confirmed it was new, less than 1 Earth week old, and yet burning stable and constant, like it had existed for eons. So naturally, attention turned to Earth again, and when asked, the humans did not deny it. Their ambassador simply said, "It's a test," and refused to say more. And that silence caused a wave of unease across the council, because no one had ever created a star before, not even the oldest species, and to do so without disruption, without announcement, and so quickly was beyond understanding. So they sent probes, careful and distant, scanning from multiple angles. But the results returned were impossible. The star had no fusion core, no traditional plasma layers, no natural gravity pull, and yet it gave off perfect heat and light, balanced and life-supporting, as if created for a specific purpose. And one Orcs scientist suggested the truth: it wasn't a real star, but a simulated one, a kind of energy projection held together by fields of unknown design, mimicking every trait of a star without being one. And the theory sent shivers through every scientific academy across the stars,
because such a thing had never even been attempted, let alone completed. And the fact that it was not a secret weapon, or threat, but just a quiet test. Made it worse because it meant humans had built it easily, without effort or fear of failure, and the council demanded access, demanded to inspect the simulated star up close, but Earth refused, kindly but firmly, repeating, "It is not open for external analysis at this time," and sent no further communication. And days later, when a stealth drone from the Varnathi Empire attempted to approach it undercover, it disappeared without a trace, not destroyed, but gone, with no signal, no wreckage, no alarm, just silence. As if the star itself had absorbed it, and then something stranger happened. Ships passing near the area began to experience shifts in time perception, brief flashes of future moments, or hearing echoes of conversations that hadn't happened yet, and some began to dream of places they'd never seen. All while the star remained still and calm, casting its gentle light over the empty zone of space like a quiet eye watching them. And panic began to grow, not because the humans were attacking, but because no one could understand the purpose of such a thing. What were they testing? And why did the star seem to observe everything around it without reacting? And theories flooded the council. Maybe it was a power source, maybe a trap, maybe a lens into another dimension. But Earth remained silent, offering no answers. It's just smiles and soft denials. And one day, out of nowhere, the star blinked out, not with a flash or explosion, but simply vanished, like a candle blown out by wind. And the space where it had existed returned to darkness, as if nothing had ever been there at all. And sensors confirmed it. No heat, no residue, not even gravitational echoes. It's just a blank space where once the star had burned bright. And Earth made no comment, did not explain, did not admit or deny anything else. And it was then that the council realized something terrifying. Humanity was not only capable of building stars, but also of erasing them, and not for war, but for quiet curiosity, like a child building a sandcastle just to see if they could. And that meant their minds were now moving on a scale no other species had reached, not in technology alone, but in vision, in thought, in purpose. And that was more dangerous than any weapon, because Earth had stopped thinking in terms of war or peace, and had started thinking in terms of what was possible beyond understanding. And the galaxy watched in silence, unsure whether to fear the humans or follow them. As whispers grew louder across the stars, if that was just a simulation, what happens when they build something real? It began without warning, quietly and without light, like a shadow slipping into the heart of the galaxy. And no one noticed until it was too late, the day when the codes stopped working, when ships from every known civilization powered up their engines, scanned the stars, sent their daily signals, and received only silence or scrambled responses, as if the entire language of space had been rewritten overnight. And at first, they blamed it on solar flares, on interference, on system failures. But soon, it became clear that something deeper had changed, because even backup systems built on ancient, unchanging protocols had failed, and communication between colonies, research posts, and diplomatic channels had broken, not entirely, but just enough to create fear. And the disruption spread like a cold wave, touching star after star. And the strangest thing was that only non-human systems were affected. Human ships, satellites, and colonies operated smoothly, perfectly, as if nothing had changed. And that realization hit the Galactic Council hard. For the pattern was undeniable. Every species that relied on shared galactic code navigation patterns, command strings, access permissions was now cut off, as if the rules of their language had been erased and replaced with something else. And Earth was the only one unaffected. And when the council demanded answers, Earth replied with calm voices and quiet eyes, saying only, "We didn't do this. We just adapted sooner." And that answer caused panic, because it meant humanity had known this would happen, or perhaps had caused it without admitting so. And when pressed, Human representatives explained that long ago their systems had outgrown the galactic code, had moved to something else, something self-evolving, context-sensitive, and not dependent on fixed keys or universal syntax. And when asked what that meant, the humans replied, "It means our machines understand us now, not just follow orders." And the council fell into chaos, trying to recover their systems, to restore their own code bases. But every attempt failed. Systems would reboot only to crash again. Commands would be accepted but yield different outcomes, and even AI minds began behaving oddly, as if uncertain of what their creators wanted, and fear spread faster than ever before, not because of an enemy, but because of a quiet change in reality. A shift in the base language of the galaxy that left entire civilizations blind and deaf to one another. And Earth offered help. Of course, they always did, but only in small pieces, simple guidance and technical advice, never the full code, never the whole picture. And when asked why they wouldn't share everything, one human technician replied, "'Cause your systems would reject it. Not because they're weak, because they were never meant to evolve this far." And those words felt like a door closing, a final sign that Earth had crossed a line the rest could not follow. And some began to believe that the simulated star, the disruption field over Mars, and now this code collapse were not separate events, but steps in a single plan, a slow rewriting of the galactic order, not through war or rule, but through change too deep to fight. And one Korak scientist who had studied human development for decades whispered a chilling thought. What if they are not just testing us? What if this is their way of choosing who can keep up? And no one could answer, because each day more systems failed, more ships lost direction, more colonies went silent, and only Earth's vessels continued to move freely, speak clearly, act with purpose, as if the stars had finally shifted in their favor. And in the center of the chaos, a single message appeared across all council screens, short and direct. From Earth's prime contact office, "We didn't break your codes. We just stopped pretending they still worked." And that was the moment the galaxy truly understood that humanity was no longer just another species in the stars. They were something else now. Something ahead, and whether they had caused this shift or had simply ridden the wave of it didn't matter anymore, because the outcome was the same. The old ways were gone, the common codes were dead. And Earth stood alone, silent and strong, not asking for power, but holding it all the same, while the rest of the galaxy struggled to catch up, unsure if they ever could. The message came not through official channels, not through the secure lines of the Galactic Council, but through a soft ripple in the deep space networks, a signal so simple it seemed like background noise, yet every sensor caught it, every system paused, and every mind, whether organic or artificial, turned to listen, because the signal carried a voice not loud, not commanding, but calm, human. And it said, "Only this. You've only seen 1% of what we can do." And then silence returned, deep and endless. But the galaxy did not forget those words, because they carried weight, not as a threat, but as a quiet promise. And within days, things began to change. Starting with the skies near Earth, where hidden shapes once cloaked in distortion slowly revealed themselves, vast structures hanging beyond the moon, silent machines larger than any known ship, black against the stars and humming with quiet energy. And they moved like dancers, slow and precise, forming patterns no species could understand. And then the humans spoke again, this time through a broadcast open to all. No encryption, no secrecy, showing their faces, their cities, their machines, not the ones the galaxy had seen before, but the real ones, hidden beneath false layers. Entire cities inside stars, artificial planets that looked like comets, ships that bent light and time without effort, and their leader, a soft-spoken woman named Elara Misteron, stood in the center of it all, speaking to the galaxy, not with pride, but with a strange mix of sadness and truth, explaining that for centuries humanity had held back, not because they feared others, but because they feared what they might become if no one else could keep up, that every invention, every step forward had been cloaked, simplified, or hidden, because Earth had grown too fast, too deep, too different, and that they had waited, hoping others would rise too, that the galaxy would grow together. But now the waiting had ended, and the mask was no longer needed, and across the stars, those who listened felt the weight of those words, because it was not power that humanity revealed with scale, depth, purpose, entire branches of science unknown to any other. Machines that learned not by code, but by curiosity, entire realities simulated within controlled quantum fields where new species were being grown in peace, ideas tested, and wars prevented before they began, and in the heart of it all was not a throne or a weapon, but a library, a living archive of every moment Earth had chosen not to interfere. And the message became clear. Earth could have ruled, could have conquered, could have erased, but they hadn't. And that was the most terrifying truth of all, because restraint from the strong was the greatest power. And now that they had chosen to step forward, it wasn't to dominate, but to lead, to show the galaxy the path they had taken, not in arrogance, but in hope. And yet, not everyone welcomed it. Some feared it, resisted it, accused Earth of deceit, of manipulation, but their own systems no longer worked. Their ships drifted blind. Their as faltered, and still, Earth offered help, guidance, unity. And when asked why now, why reveal all of this, Ilara answered, because the galaxy is breaking, and if we do not rise together, we will fall apart. And those words struck harder than any fleet, because they held truth, and as humanity moved, not with armies, but with ideas, opening gates between worlds, sending envoys made of light and mind, offering tools that could rebuild planets or heal dying suns, the rest of the galaxy had a choice to cling to fear or step into a new era led by those who had once been dismissed. Slowly, quietly, species began to follow, not because they were forced, but because they saw a future they had never imagined. And the day humanity took off the mask became the day everything changed, not with war or fire, but with the simple truth that the humans had waited long enough. And now they were ready to show what they had always been, the architects, not just of machines, but of destiny itself.